Hello, welcome to the Bakwas channel for self-paced tutorials on Internet of Things. This video illustrates the steps to add a disk drive to an existing Linux platform. The objective of this tutorial is to increase the storage capacity of a computer. Add a new disk drive to a platform that already hosts a flavor of Linux. It is a simple and very basic introduction to increasing available storage capacity using popular add-on drives. The specific operating system for this tutorial is the version of Debian Bullseye for Raspberry Pi 64-bit operating system. A single board microcomputer, Raspberry Pi 4, serves as the example for the exercise. The add-on drive is a popular M.2 SSD chip. The specific case for this example was presented in an earlier video where the hardware accessory on top, or HAT, was used. The SSD has 1 terabyte nominal capacity and therefore subdivided into 4 partitions in this tutorial. There are many flavors of Linux and there are many options for add-on drives. In order to keep the tutorial at a very simple level, only general principles are illustrated. There are too many options or variations even for the chosen operating system for the steps to add new storage capacity. Please explore your options before committing to any particular process. The two key assumptions to follow in this tutorial are some familiarity with Raspberry Pi computer hardware, some knowledge of an operating system supported by the hardware. This short tutorial illustrates only one method. There are many other methods to perform the same set of tasks. These methods may be more appropriate for other use cases to increase the storage capacity. The fdisk command lists the partitions on the system. Care should be exercised in using the fdisk command. The first add-on drive will have the prefix SDA. Therefore, to seek the partitions on the first add-on drive, seek names that have the SDA prefix. The entire drive will have the label SDA without a numeric suffix. The individual partitions will be labeled as SDA1, SDA2, and so forth, depending on the number of existing partitions. While fdisk can be used to create partitions, perhaps cfdisk or other utilities may be more efficient in managing partitions on the hard drive. After the partitions have been created, these partitions must be formatted. The preferred format type for the partition is currently ext4. Note the UUID for the newly created partition. Use the make directory mkdir command to create a folder that will reside on the newly created partition. The contents of the folder may have to be migrated from the primary partition in some cases. The folder name shown on this slide is for illustration only. Since the references to partitions using device names may change owing to configuration changes on the platform, it is recommended that each partition be referenced using an universal unique identifier or UUID. Use the blkid command to obtain these UUIDs for the partitions. Naturally, there will be no UUID for a partition until the latter is created through one of the previously mentioned commands such as fdisk or cfdisk. The mount point provides an internal pointer to the folder using the name of the corresponding partition. Check the mount point using the df command. The name /SSD on the slide is for example use only. In practice, your name or names will be different. Once a partition has been defined, use the blkid command to obtain the corresponding UUID. Make a note of this UUID for the partition. This slide is very important when selecting folders for migration to a new add-on drive. These folders must never be separated physically from the root partition. As an example, the user folder has subfolders containing programs, libraries, documentation that are very important during runtime. If these folders are not under the root folder / then many operations will fail because the operating system will not be able to determine the new location without changes to the kernel which is something beyond the scope of this very simple tutorial. /user uses the largest amount of space among system files, therefore it is tempting to place it in a dedicated folder or faster drive, but this kind of change is not recommended at all. This tutorial illustrates suitable folders that may be placed on partition add-on drives. /var for variable data, /tmp for temporary data, /home for personal data, /opt for third-party application software. Some prior planning and storage size estimation for these partitions where these folders will reside may make the migration smoother. It is strongly recommended that practicing the steps outlined in this tutorial be done in a single user mode. The command init --1 places the computer in single user mode. The command init --5 reverts the computer into multi-user mode. The slide enumerates the steps to move the folder to a temporary location, create a new folder, mount the folder in a newly created partition, move the files from the temporary location to the newly created folder. The target folder in the second move command must be empty, or else another method should be chosen to transfer the entire folder from the temporary location. The file /etc/fstab contains the references between the partitions and the corresponding folders after a partition is created. Obtain its UUID and enter the corresponding record as shown on the slide. The first term for the record is the keyword value pair with the keyword UUID separated from the long string by an equal sign. Then there is a space followed by the folder name. Then there is a space followed by the type of partition, namely ext4 in this tutorial. Finally, there are space delimited values, defaults 0 and 2 for the rest of the record. Repeat the entries for all partitions on the add-on disk drive that should be mounted automatically during the boot process. Naturally, editing the file /etc/fstab requires elevated privileges. The file /etc/fstab contains the references between the partitions and the corresponding folders after a partition is created. Obtain its UUID and enter the corresponding record as shown on the slide. The first term for the record is the keyword value pair with the keyword UUID separated from the long string by an equal sign. Then there is a space followed by the folder name. Then there is a space followed by the type of partition, namely ext4 in this tutorial. Finally, there are space delimited values, defaults 0 and 2 for the rest of the record. Repeat the entries for all partitions on the add-on disk drive that should be mounted automatically during the boot process. Naturally, editing the file /etc/fstab requires elevated privileges. This presentation was prepared with assistance on special effects from sufisma@gmail. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the free open source software from Kdenlive for nonlinear editing, LibreOffice for documentation, OBS Studio for recordings, and of course, Raspberry Pi Foundation for the platform services. The music is from the YouTube audio library. It is called Images of Tomorrow by Unicorn Heads. Also to my family, my teachers, colleagues, and subscribers, a simple thank you is wholly inadequate for the journey through the years. Nevertheless, thank you again to everyone on this list for the encouragement, support, and understanding to help me to continue doing what I like doing, that is, to assist in a very small way to make more productive use of computer technologies. That's all, folks. Thanks for taking the time to view this presentation. Would love to hear from you with your feedback. You are always welcome to be critical in any which way you can. Until next time, bye for now.